In today's NFL, selling offense is hella easy. Big, exciting pass plays, bruising runners, acrobatic receptions. Just do your job and we all in. Defense, on the other hand, not so simple. To sell defense, you need to not only be great in a league where the rules do not favor you in any way, you also gotta get a fan something to latch on to. Like, you need an identity. Are you a warrior, a villain, or just flat out better than everybody else? Fans from all over latched on to Seattle's Legion of Boom because they checked all three boxes. A group who brought defense back to the forefront, won a Super Bowl, and should have easily won two, if not for a terrible play call that pretty much ruined everything. Regardless, the legacy of the group endures. And while most people would consider Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman to be the headliners, real ones know that the heart and soul of that group was an intense, disruptive, menacing force who goes by the name of Kam Chancellor. Throughout his entire career from high school to pro, Kam carried an infectious, kinetic energy that always transferred to his teammates. In his own words, he actually described it pretty damn poetically. One match is a fire starter. It only takes one to light up the whole damn box. This is what happened to Kam Chancellor, the heart and soul of the Legion of Boom. Cue the way. Before we jump in, it's time for a quick word from today's video sponsor, Manscaped. Now, Manscaped is partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to raise awareness, which is not only dope, but literally makes perfect sense. Now, a while back, they hooked me up with a bunch of products, and bro, I've been using these for months. I've recommended them to family members and friends alike. Now, if you haven't tried them out yet, one of the best ways to jump into it is through the Perfect Package Kit 3.0. It includes their flagship product, the Lawnmower 3.0. This thing is a beast. Waterproof tech, skin safe tech, LED light for precision. You can use it in the shower, no cuts, no nicks, no bruises. Then you got your ball deodorant and ball toner to keep you fresh throughout the day. And this kit covers you from head to toe, so you got the weed whacker. That's gonna help you trim them nose and ear hairs, plus shears for the fingernails and toes. A true story, bro, when you're on top of your game and you well kept, like, your confidence soars. It's a big deal. Also, for a limited time, they're throwing in the 2 free gifts: shared travel bag that I use all the time, and the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs. So go to manscaped.com today and save 20% off your order, plus free international shipping. And remember, every purchase made at manscaped.com goes toward contributions to the Testicular Cancer Society. So that's what's up. Shout out to Manscaped for always coming through and sponsoring the video. Without further ado, let's get it. Kam Chancellor grew up in a crime-infested neighborhood called Park Place, located in the western portion of Norfolk, Virginia. He was the third youngest of 7 kids, 4 brothers, 2 sisters. Fun fact, in 2015, one of those brothers was picked up by the Seahawks as an undrafted free agent, briefly playing alongside big brother Kam. Kam's dad was unfortunately not around, so his mom was forced to work 2 and 3 jobs pretty much all the damn time. Many days, Kam and his cousin Rico would walk up and down the street looking for something to get into. Constructive or illegal, it didn't matter. So one day, Rico asked Kam if he wanted to go play football, and Kam was down. He really thought they was going to play in somebody's backyard or at a park or something. But Rico led him to James Monroe Elementary, and they saw some kids outside putting their pads on. So Kam and Rico walk up and they ask the coach if they can join, and he's like, yeah, come on, forever altering the path of a young Kam Chancellor. But this was just the first of 3 major pillars that set Kam on the path to the NFL. And going through Kam's story, these 3 pillars, if you will, likely wouldn't have been nearly as impactful on their own. But when you put them all together, it kind of created a gravitational pull in the right direction on that path to success. Kam also spent a ton of time at Park Place Boys and Girls Club, a place that offered yet another refuge from the streets, where kids could just learn and play and be kids, right? That was the second pillar, but the process was gradual. Nothing that's actually worth having comes overnight. Y'all know how this go. In the beginning, the football field just allowed Kam to meet some more kids, and since at around 8 years old, he was bigger than other kids his age, he ran with the older kids. But it wasn't too long before that started to get him into trouble. So this is where the third pillar comes in. As a way to keep Kam from running with the wrong crowds, he was given a job at a local barbershop when he was only 10 years old. Basically just sweeping the floor between cuts, cleaning clippers, taking out the trash, stuff like that. The shop owner, Kam Chancellor, had hired Kam on with his mom's permission. So it gave him something else to fill his time, and also he could earn a little bit of money doing this little job, But because he was making a little bit of money, the shop owner would be kind of surprised when Kam would come into the shop and seem like he hadn't eaten all damn day. Come to find out, he was spending all of his money on his siblings and making sure they were straight, and oftentimes just going hungry himself. Here's a quote from the shop owner. He told me he had bought food for his brothers and sisters. I told him, Kam, that's all well and good, but you can't just go to school and try to study when you're hungry. But that's just Kam. He was always looking out for his family. And it's dope because it goes to show, dude was always a leader and just a strong centerpiece for a team. Before it was the Seahawks, it was his own brothers and sisters. The shop owner became a father figure for Kam and steered him more towards the right path, and what better place to pick up life lessons than at a damn barbershop, Still, many of Kam's friends didn't heed the same guidance, and even as a young kid, he unfortunately saw several of his friends lose their lives to violence. Kam took refuge in athletics, and by the time he was a high school junior, dude was a 6'2", dual threat quarterback, which might surprise some of y'all, and he had a pretty decent arm. But an injury-plagued season meant no scholarship offers going into his senior year. As a senior, his 2,000 pass yards and 500 rush yards solidified the fact that he would continue his football career in college. Now he had to choose Virginia Tech or James Madison. Believe it or not, James Madison was not only still a contender, but the heavy favorite. And while it seems difficult to imagine this cat being afraid of anything, in hindsight, he admitted that he was intimidated by such a large program and initially felt the smaller James Madison was better suited for him and his skill set. And let's be real, the bigger college is not always going to be the better choice. But if the reason you're choosing a smaller college is just because you're afraid or intimidated by the bigger school, that might not be the best grounds on which to make a decision. So once the tug-of-war recruiting battle between VT and James Madison was over, another round of tug-of-war immediately kicked off. Basically, the offensive and defensive coaches was fighting over Kam, and they were honest when they recruited him there, saying they may or may not keep him at quarterback. The 6'3", 220-pound freshman had only played a little bit of free safety in high school, but the defensive coaches took one look at how dude was put together and they had to have it. Kam was permanently placed on the defensive side of the ball, and dude was just a natural. At first he played corner, and think about this, in a position he never played in his life. At a D1 school, he played in all 13 games as a true freshman and finished the year with 9 tackles, 2 deflections, and a pick. Now I know the stats not crazy, but I don't know if y'all understand how impressive that is. He's fresh off playing high school quarterback, and at a D1 school, he goes to a new position that he's never played. Corner of all spots is a very difficult position, and gets PT as a freshman. That's hella impressive. But here's the issue. They kept changing his position, okay? For the first 3 years, he played a different spot every year. They basically just plugged him in wherever they felt the defense needed him. As a sophomore, he started at rover, which is basically a box safety or a drop linebacker, whatever you want to call it. Actually pretty similar to the strong safety position he played in the Legion of Boom. That year he started every game and racked up 79 tackles, 7 deflections, a few quarterback hurries, and a pick. Now as a junior, they moved him to free safety. I'm like, let him settle into something, bro. I keep moving him all over the damn place. But what may have seemed like a detriment at the time would eventually become one of Kam's greatest assets. But this would prove to be the ultimate case of delayed gratification, because in the short term, as a college junior, Kam's production seemed to be on the decline. 52 tackles, 7 deflections, 2 picks, a forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries. This was around that time where Kam started to hear whispers that he should enter the NFL draft. Since entering college, he had considered the fact that he could be the first member of his family to graduate college. And while that was something that meant a lot to him, mom was still working 2 jobs and, kind of struggling. So being a good son, he wanted to offer her relief. Not to mention the Boys and Girls Club that impacted him so much as a kid had been shut down, and Kam, who's always thinking about everybody else, wanted to help get it reopened. So he talked to his mom and the barbershop owner, who kind of became a father figure for him, right? He wanted advice on what to do, and if either one of them would have said, I think maybe you should go pro. I'm like 99% sure he'll win. But because they were unselfish and they actually care about Cam, they didn't say that. They told him, listen, man, do what you think is best. Now, I've been one of them cats, and I said this a million times, there's literally no upside in going back for that dreaded senior season if you're already a high pick. Okay, if you already seen as a top 15 pick and you go back for your senior year, you're risking so much for the opportunity to move up a few spots. You feel me? The risk reward there usually not worth it. Now, Cam was a late round pick. He was one of them cats that was gonna go somewhere between round 5 and round 7. Plus, he was coming off a down year, which is mostly just because they changed his position again, but you know, that's neither here nor there. So basically what I'm saying is, this is one of them times where, you know, I'm okay with it, okay? It's cool. So he stayed and had a solid but not amazing senior season. But he did prove that junior season was just an anomaly, and finally staying in the same position and getting more comfortable, he was able to put out some really good tape. But the 4.69 40 he ran ended up definitely hurting his draft stock. If he could have gotten that 4 or 5 range, he probably gets drafted around maybe 2 rounds higher than he did. He ended up being drafted in the 5th round of the 2010 NFL draft, and what a steal it would turn out to be. He played mostly special teams as a rookie, but took the starting strong safety spot in his 2nd year and never let it go. His running mate Earl Thomas was taken in the 1st round of that exact same draft, and from 2011 to 2017 they were one of, if not the best safety duo in the league. Only 1 year after drafting 2 of the best safeties in the league, the Seahawks land Richard Sherman once again late in the draft, and he and the other members of the Legion instantly became an unstoppable force. And while Cam definitely wasn't the most celebrated of the group, he was the cat that made the whole thing work. He was the motivator, the enforcer, the glue. And one thing that I believe is very underrated is how, even though he was probably the most feared of the entire group, he completely suppressed his ego and allowed other guys to do the majority of the talking. Now, look, obviously all the guys have different personalities, but I just can't remember a whole lot of look at me moments from Kam Chancellor. And he honestly didn't need them because you was looking anyway. Dude was going crazy. Now, this is where you realize where it may not have helped his draft stock, all that position switching at Virginia Tech really translated well. We talking about a cat that could play linebacker, fill the A gap, fill the B gap, or cover the best tight end in the game. But the thing that stood out the most, the hits, bro. And we ain't talking like just the little dirty pick your spots hits. Like, nah, he was hitting everything that moved. Tight ends, fullbacks, running backs, it did not matter. If you a receiver, just go ahead, alligator arm that thing, bro. It's not even worth it. I'm not even gonna judge you. And without being a dirty player, okay? Without being a dirty player, he brought this crazy level of intimidation. It was wild, man. And the rest of the Legion fed off it. Cam's impact on the game is one that definitely cannot be completely measured with stats. With that said, he still put up impressive numbers throughout his career, especially early on. In 2011, which was his first year as a full-time starter, he racked up 97 tackles, a sack, 3 forced fumbles, and 4 interceptions. First year starter, Pro Bowl.
I ain't really get a lot of action yet. It's coming though.
2012, he went over 100 tackles for the only time in his career, though he was right there multiple times. He and the Legion of Boom had started making a name for themselves, but he still got passed over for the Pro Bowl that year. 2013 was the first year the NFL really started to see dude's value. First off, the 5th round pick finally got paid, cashing in on a 4-year, $28 million contract. The investment immediately paid off as he made 2nd team All-Pro and began a string of 3 straight Pro Bowl selections. But if we learned anything from Cam's early life, the individual stuff was cool, but with him, it was always about the team. Like I've said multiple times, dude was the heart of that defense and helped lead them to Super Bowl 48, where the Legion of Boom dominated against the league's top offense. On the way there, Cam showed up big in every single postseason game. 14 tackles in the TFL, 11 tackles in a pick, and then in the biggest game on the biggest stage, 10 tackles, a pick, and 2 pass deflections. That year, Peyton Manning and the Broncos set a single season record for passing yards and touchdowns. But Cam's Legion of Boom broke hella records against these dudes, man. First off, they scored the fastest points in Super Bowl history, recording a safety only 12 seconds into the damn game. They also had a pick 6 and led a 60-minute game for 59 minutes and 48 seconds. As usual, Cam made a crucial play early in the game. These little drag routes were a big part of the Broncos' offense, as Peyton Manning couldn't hit the deep ball the same way he used to. But on the first crossing route of the game, while yes, it was a completion, Cam buries Demaryius Thomas. The Broncos' offense was in disarray for the rest of the contest, and the Seahawks cruised to a lopsided 43-8 victory. The next year, Cam and the squad was kind of up against the impossible. Can you win back-to-back? Well, this dude did everything he could to help get him back there. In the first round of the playoffs that year, his field goal block didn't count due to a penalty, but still fun to watch. Even without that, dude was completely dominant in this game. He was everywhere, and then he catches a 90-yard pick 6 at the end just for the icing on the cake. The following week, the Seahawks won in OT versus the Packers, sending them to their second straight Super Bowl. At this point, the physical style Cam played with had begun to kind of wear him down, but he constantly played through injuries, and from the outside looking in, seemed to never miss a beat. It even came out that prior to Super Bowl 49, Cam suffered an MCL tear, but refused to miss the game. And when the Legion of Boom took the field that night, as usual, the enforcer was right there where he belonged. He wasn't his normal self, but his gritty 10 tackles helped put them in a position to walk away with yet another Lombardi trophy. But despite having one of the most physical runners in the game, they opted to pass the ball in a situation where a handoff or two gives you the lead late in the fourth quarter. It was only second down and they still had a timeout. Marshawn had literally just run the play before and fell like a yard short. So the next play call was the most obvious one in league history. But they decide to pass, it gets picked off, they lose the game, and the Legion of Boom would never be the same. And if you can imagine for a moment just what it takes to get to that point and to be sitting on the sideline powerless, and that happens, you know, it's something that Cam still hadn't gotten over till this day. Here's a quote. "To this day, people ask me, why didn't you give the ball to Marshawn? And to this day, I don't know. I never got a clear answer. I just couldn't believe it. I'll just never understand the play. Even during my last few years in Seattle, it was like a cloud that hung over us, like this constant, unseen, unspoken reminder that we just weren't on the same page anymore. I don't think we ever got that back. But if Cam thought 2014 was tough, 2017 would be even worse." The year actually started out pretty damn good for Kam Chancellor as he signed a brand new contract, $36 million with $25 million guaranteed. He had held out at the beginning of the 2015 season, but nothing ever came of that. He'd been waiting 2 years to sign that deal, and it's a good thing he got it when he did because he didn't have much time left. In week 9 of the 2017 season, Seattle took on the Arizona Cardinals, and in a double dose of terrible luck, both Kam Chancellor and Richard Sherman suffered career-altering injuries. But Cam's, his was a little bit more than that. A severe neck injury initially placed him on IR, but almost a year later, a series of tweets would shock the football world. The man who seemed to be made of steel was in fact skin and bones. He was diagnosed with spinal stenosis, an abnormal narrowing of the spinal canal. The test showed that he wasn't healing, and the stiffness in his neck was only getting worse. Facing the risk of lifelong paralysis, Cam wisely walked away from the game. In a dark irony, football, which had once saved his life, now threatened to end it. But if there is a silver lining, it's this. At least he got that guaranteed money on the way out. Today, Cam's healthy and happy, but the transition has proven even more difficult than he thought it would be. He dedicated so much of himself to football, and he'd always envisioned himself walking away from the game on his own terms. During his career, Cam made instant progress both in college and in the pros, but life after the game, he's kind of had to check that. He's noticed that things take more time. He couldn't just run headfirst into a business venture and grow it overnight. He's been forced to develop more patience and is taking the time to nurture and grow his Chancellor shoe collection, his coffee shop in Virginia, and several other business ventures. And even though the transition hasn't been easy from what we can see, Cam's post-career transition has been it's been pretty damn outstanding. You know what I'm saying? He's doing a phenomenal job. He's always been a great family man and has settled into marriage and fatherhood well. He stayed close to the game through mentoring and going through film study with many of the Seahawks' current players, as they all look up to him for not only what he's done on the field, but for who he is. And dude never forgot where he came from. He started a foundation called Kam Cares that gives back to all the boys and girls clubs that are near the area he grew up in. And he's actually extended that out to his whole region of Virginia. Kam Chancellor was the heart and soul of the Legion of Boom, but he's also the heart and soul of his family and community. The passion he brought to the game was one thing, but his skill and versatility, yeah, that just put him on a whole nother level. There's been a few really good safeties that come into the league over the last 10 years or so, but if you want a cat that's gonna instantly transform your defense, shape and mold themselves to fit whatever role you need them to play, and to strike actual fear in the hearts of opposing offenses, look no further than the Enforcer. The first match to strike, Kam Bam Bam Chancellor, forever the heart and soul of the Legion of Boom.